Okay, so there's some things that we want to get from Chapter 3 that we need to understand from Chapter 3. We don't need to understand how to take apart a power supply and fix one. Number one, there are big capacitors, the size of C and D cells batteries inside a power supply, and they could hurt you. Number two, they're sharp inside of a power supply, and you could get cut and they could hurt you. There's only one thing I've ever done inside a power supply. Okay? The only thing I've ever done inside a power supply. Are you okay? Just he's having a hard time not laughing. The only thing I've ever done inside a power supply is to swap out the fan. If I've got a relatively new power supply and the fan's not spinning,
how often do you have to do that?
I've had to do that like 5 times ever in my life.
Oh.
That's the only thing. I'm just saying that's the only thing I've ever done inside a power supply. Okay. Just having a controllability issue. It's kind of hard time. It's got a stuck aileron. Can't stop it. Okay, so anyways, that's the only thing. Other than that, we need to understand the indications of a bad power supply and when we need to swap it out, how to test a power supply, and how to buy a new power supply if we've got one that doesn't work. Okay, so first of all, let's hit that first thing. What's the indication of a bad power supply? What's our first indication that we'll get before we have a bad? Okay, so we're going to say power supply issues. And I know you covered this in class in a video last week. So what's our number one thing that we would see first when a power supply is going bad? What is usually the first thing that we notice or see that is not correct? Okay? What is the first thing? Okay, so this has happened to me on many, many occasions. I've had people come in and say, hey, my computer keeps shutting off. It works fine when I turn it on in the morning. It only runs for like 40 minutes, and then it turns off. And if I wait an hour and turn it on again, it works again, but it only works for like 40 or 45 minutes, and then it turns off again. What's wrong? Okay, let's be more specific. There's something wrong with the power supply. It's my first guess.
The fan.
The fan! The first thing that we notice is a fan issue, okay? Every single time that particular item has happened, I'll turn it on, and I'll either look at the back of it, or in the case of some power supplies where the fan's on the inside, there's just holes in the back, I put my hand over it. If I don't feel airflow, or I don't see those blades spinning, the fan is busted. Power supply fans always spin, because this is always generating heat, and it always wants to be pushed out of the PC. So if the power supply fan isn't working, will it turn on? And the answer is yes. And as soon as it's overheated, it will turn itself off.
Wait, do you mean like when it hits 187?
Because the power supply has its own internal
Do all
indicator.
computers turn them off now by themselves?
Well, there are two different turnoffs we're talking about here. You're talking about when the CPU overheats and when the power supply overheats. CPUs, when they get hot, will slow down, turn off. A power supply, when it overheats, it kicks and it just turns on. Okay? So that's the first thing I will notice on one that's going bad usually is the fan isn't spinning. There's no airflow, and the indication that you'll get is that it works. And then it doesn't. And then it works. And then it doesn't. Okay? So that's, if someone comes in and told you that, that's the first thing I get. Okay, so the second indication of a bad power supply is what?
The beeping. What? Oh, the plug. When it's not plugged in. Or like-
Battery.
Okay, my second indication is nothing. If I got a bad power supply and I push the button and nothing lights up, then nothing happens. Yeah.
Are you there?
Yes.
Oh, okay. This is your planning period, right?
No.
Oh, it's not. Okay. I'm sorry. I'll talk to you later then.
Okay. Can you not hear me teaching? I guess not. Can't hear me. Okay, so the second indication is nothing happens. I just replaced the power supply over here. By the way, you're all in trouble because you left both my power supply testers down in the shop. I was afraid they got stolen. Luckily, they were still there. You guys went to the shop. We tested them downstairs, and you never brought them back up. And I said, grab the power supply testers, go them back. I know. I haven't used them. So I pulled out this PC. What? I pulled out this PC and I plugged it in and I pushed the button and no lights came on. Nothing. A bad power supply, once it's gone bad, gives you no indications. Nothing happens. Push the button, nothing happens. There's no beeps with a bad power supply. Nothing happens. Now, some power supplies, when they're going bad, can cause a beep. But generally, beeps mean what? Bad memory, yeah. Beeps are bad memory most of the time. With a bad power supply, usually nothing happens, and then what do I do?
Take it out. Cry.
Do I take it out?
Cry.
Do I have to take it out to test it?
No, you,
No. I test it, okay? If nothing happens, I'll leave it screwed in, I'll leave it plugged in, it could be in the PC just fine, still bolted. I could just unplug this one connector, plug it in my power supply tester and plug it in, which I did yesterday, and nothing happened. No lights came on, no PPs, no nothing. Power supply's bad. Then I unscrew it and take it out. Okay? So our first thing we want to take away from this chapter is this. What are my indications and how do I test it? We all, you weren't here then, we all, 4 out of 5, 80% of us, have taken out power supplies and put in power supplies, and how long does it take?
20 seconds.
Okay, maybe not that fast. I'll say less than 5 minutes, okay?
super fast.
It takes less than 5 minutes to remove the power supply and put it back in, right? There's only 4 screws. 1, 2, 3, 4. These are not screws you take out. Neither are these fan cover screws. They did first period, okay? Just take out the 4, bolting it into the case. So I was looking at this case right here in front of Emma. It's these 4 screws. 1, 2, 3, 4. And in the case of some cases, there's a little button on the inside, which we know from this one there is. If I want to pull out the power supply from this one, Emma, I also, after I unscrew that, have to push down this button right there. And then it just pops out. Okay, but I have to have the screws out and push the button because the button locks it in. And all the water. Okay? So if I'm going to replace a power supply, I know there are 4 screws and a bunch of cables. And I pay attention to the cables as I'm taking them out. I don't just start willy-nilly ripping out power supply cables. I actually look at what I'm doing. You may, if you're at a PC that you're not used to using and you have a cell phone with you, you may even want to take a picture to make sure I don't miss anything. There's nothing wrong with that. There's many times where I've gone something new, take a picture or take a video as I'm doing it so I don't forget as I'm putting it back together. Okay? Wish I had a video camera when I did my motorcycle engine, and maybe it would have gone back together right. But, so I might do that. As I'm removing all the cables, I want to make sure I get all the cables plugged back in where they were. Things that students forget all the time. Students oftentimes forget the CD-ROM because I am not using the CD-ROM when I plug it back in. They usually do not forget the hard drive because when they're putting it back together, they usually remember to test it. The hard drive has to be connected. Okay? But I can leave it right where it is to pull out that P1 power connector and try the power and test the power. Okay?
So you have a motorcycle?
No, I don't have a motorcycle at all. That's a long story.
I just thought you had a motorcycle.
I lent it to a friend who said he wanted to fix it, and then he sold it. I go, hey, is my bike almost ready? And he goes, I got tired of working on it, I sold it. What?
Did you buy it? Did you get the money?
So, no! I just I'm dumbfounded, so I'm like, you what? Anyway, so I don't have a motorcycle. So anyways, we've got the 4 screws, and we've got some cables. We don't have to remove it to test it. After we've tested it, we obviously remove it, and then the next objective of this chapter is that we need to be able to purchase the right power supply. And the right one means it has the right cables and it has the right wattage. Right? We already know what wattage is. Wattage is total power. It has to be able to put it out enough power throughout the whole system when the system starts up for it all to work. If it can't put out the right amount of power, that minimum amount of wattage, the PC will not work. And if it does work, it's going to be really weird. Things are going to work and then not work because as power is drawn from the CD-ROM, all of a sudden it can't read from the hard drive because the hard drive doesn't have enough wattage. Yes.
I didn't really have time to watch the calculator.
Well then,
And I didn't understand it when I did.
Okay, we're gonna go through it today. We're actually gonna go through it today. Okay, so the next objective is that you be able to purchase the right one, and we had some terms that I needed you to make sure you understood, because you're going to be tested on it on the test on Monday. Test is on Monday. It was going to be Thursday. I ran out of time today, so it's now Monday. Okay, test on Monday. So the first one is the calculated wattage. Okay, that calculated wattage is saying that with everything that's inside that PC, it must have that exact wattage to work. Okay? Calculated wattage is the number you get exactly from adding things together. And then I gave you minimum wattage, which was calculated, rounded up to the next 50. So if this number, for instance, was 293, this number would be 300. Okay? And then that number stinks because look how close that number is to that number. Then I had recommended, which is calculated plus 50. So in this example, you would be recommending a 350 watt power supply. I will ask you all those things on the test. I will say, give me the calculated wattage of this PC, or give me the recommended wattage of this PC, or give me the minimum wattage of this PC. The reason we don't buy minimums is because if I had this on this particular example and I added one hard drive, would the PC work anymore? No, it wouldn't. Okay? So you want to add at least 50, and this is an at least. I'm going to give you an example.
Recommended the minimum plus 50.
Yes, I put a C there. You are correct, sir. I have the wrong letter there. Thank you. Minimum plus 50. Okay. So if you went and I said, hey, here's a PC, okay, and you did the PC and you found out that it was 345, which meant 350, which meant 400. Okay, that's my calculated minimum recommended numbers. Okay, and I sent you to a link for a 550 watt power supply, and I said, would this meet our recommended wattage for that PC? Would the answer be true or false? Yeah, because this is the lowest you want to buy. Anything that or higher would meet your recommended. Okay? Because I had people do that on tests previously. I said, hey, does this meet your recommended for this PC? And people said, no, it came out to be 400, and that's 500. Well, no. It's anything this or better would meet the recommended. Okay? Anything that or better would meet that recommended. Because if you were looking at a website and you saw a 400 watt one and you saw a 450 watt one and they were the same price, which one would you buy?
Buy the better one.
For the bigger one, 450. Okay. Why would I want more?
Because if you add something later in the future, it can actually still support that one.
Okay, I'll go with that. Expandability. Okay, you can expand it more without having to do anything. What else does a larger power supply get me from your reading? What else does it get me? It gets me two other things.
Better works.
Or speed. No speed. Speed no answer. What other two things from my reading and watching would more wattage get me? What would it add to my PC? It would run all kinds of words, not the right ones. Anyone?
Just take a shot in the dark, tell me to run.
Huh? Not faster.
More efficient.
More efficient. Funny, I should have played hangman with the word and we would have got it right away. It's going to be more efficient. If you require 400 and you buy 400, you're putting it at its maximum ability all the time. Okay? Okay? And that's not efficient. And a second example, I'll use a car. Okay? Max has a Chevy, let's see, what did my wife used to have? She had a Chevette. Okay, Chevette. Okay? It's a little tiny 4-cylinder
He
engine,
had like a
and he can get up.
Yeah.
He can get up to 70 miles an hour in his Chevette, and he can ride at 70 miles an hour. And then Mr. Green comes along and pimps it out for him, puts it in an 8-cylinder 350.
Thanks, man.
Okay.
Wow. that's-
Now, when
that's
he's
clever.
driving 350, when he's driving 70 miles an hour, which you could do with a 4-cylinder too, when he's driving at 70 miles an hour, is this car running hotter or cooler than it was before? It's running cooler, right? So not only is it more efficient, it's cooler. Okay, because that power supply that's going to its peak voltage all the time is gonna be hotter.
It's cooler as in like the temperature.
Temperature
or
is
cooler as
cooler.
in like.
Now his pimped out Chevette still looks like a Chevette.
It still looks
Okay, so if you've got a higher wattage, it's going to be more expandable, it's going to be more efficient, and it's going to run cooler than buying one that's at its minimum. Which is why we would like to go a little bit bigger. Okay, so those are the 3 advantages of going more. I used to have you guys read a article called Power Supply Myths, and unfortunately the article's not on the web anymore. It was a great article. I wish I had copied it while it was up there, but it's not. Anyway, and I talked about these 3 things, the advantages of buying a slightly larger power supply. If my calculator comes out that I only need 293, and I put in a 550, is it pulling more power because I put in a higher wattage power supply? No, it still only pulls what it needs.
Needed, but
Okay, but it's much easier for this to put out 293 than, for instance, a 300 watt one, right? So that's why it's more efficient, but it only pulls the amount of power that it needs.
You know how you said like with the USB, like if you only plan on using a couple, it said like some people only put what like enough wattage of what they need. So does that mean the other USB like wouldn't work? Even if you
No, it would, but I'm just saying when you're calculating it, just calculate it based on what you know you're going to use, but realize that you're going to use more, but you're already adding a little extra, right? But we don't go and say it's got 8 USB ports, so I'm going to add 24 watts. We just say, I know that I'm going to use 2 because I got a mouse and a keyboard when we initially calculate. Because I mean, that'd be the same as saying I've got a port for a hard drive, I'll add another 25 watts. So you don't add the voltage because you could put something in there. We're only doing it based on what we know that we're going to use. That's a good question. Okay, let's see. We're going to go ahead and go through some calculations. So those are the things I want you to understand what you're supposed to be getting from this chapter. Do I know when it's wrong? Can I test it? Can I replace it? And can I buy the right one? And so we're going to go through the calculations and see if we come up with the same thing today. And we're going to use the calculator worksheet today. Next class, I'm going to do the Chapter 3 project and present to you a PowerPoint presentation. And you're going to grade me off the rubric so you understand how my rubrics work. So that in Chapter 4, when I'm grading you off the rubric, there are no surprises. You know what grade you're getting before you even start. Okay? Okay, so let's see, we already talked about that. We already talked about that. Oh, this is the other myth, and we'll get to that here when we go to the power supplies. So let's go and do one at a time. And we're going to use that calculation sheet that I gave you. And just to make sure I point out and you understand, these are numbers that I made up off of using the other chart, and these are worst case scenarios. Okay? Not all quad cores pull 100 watts. The worst one I could find pulls close to 100 watts. Okay? So if you're using a chart like this, you're already being conservative, but we're still going to round it up so that we know that when we buy something, we are as safe as we possibly can. Okay? So let's go through the first one, and we're going to go through and make sure that we got the same things. So the first one is this one, and I will tell you that you need to make sure you read both the up here and go to the specifications. We need to do both when we're looking at these, because sometimes the answer's in the pictures, and sometimes the answer's in the text.
And it only has like the dual core and stuff.
Okay, so right here, we already know that it's dual core, right? So let's go ahead and check that off. Does it have a motherboard? Yes, as one. Is it dual core? Yes, we already know that. So now we want to look at the video card, the memory, and the drives. We won't do too much at one time. So the video card, if I go down here, gotta go to specifications, sorry. Go to specifications, And I want to go to the Duke video card first. Optical, audio, graphics. It's integrated graphics, so it's the basic graphics that we're going to use there. And then we're going to go up here to memory, and it's got a total of 2 gig of memory. This is a hard one. It doesn't give us enough indications. It could have 2 1 gig sticks, it could have 1 2 gig stick. Okay? I will tell you that you're going to get, with this one, you're going to get the same answer either way. We're going to do it with one, and I'll show you what I mean. So I'm going to say that it's basic video, and there's like, basic video, and 1 stick of RAM. We need to know how many hard drives and optical drives we're looking at here. And we can look up here, and here. Processor hard drive, we got 1 hard drive, we've got 1 optical drive, integrated. And while we're here, we've got a USB mouse, but a standard keyboard. Okay? So we'll go ahead and do those. So I've got the optical drive, hard drive, 1 USB. Do we have any extra cooling fans? Well, this is one of the ones where you have to go to the picture to figure it out. So if I go up here to the pictures, and take a look around the PC. Yep. CP, that's the the power supply fan, and that is definitely an extra cooling fan right there. I can tell because inside the grates is the middle of the fan. That's the fan motor. If you see a sticker right up against the thing, there is a fan. Okay? So that's kind of the telltale sign. So we're going to say 1 there. So as we do this, we're going to add 50 and 75 and 30 and 15 and 30 and 25 and 6.
So
And
the
I've got to
USB
use the calculator.
The USB, you only put what you're going to use. You
Yes, only what we're going to
You
use.
don't put 6. I put 6.
No, and that's what I was saying. You could plug in way more hard drives. We're not calculating based on the hard drives we could put in it, unless you know. And that this is in this case we don't know. But if you were doing one for yours at home and you know you're going to plug in stuff in all 6, then I would. But so in this case, I'm going to say 50 plus 75 plus 30 plus 15 plus 30 plus 25 plus 6 equals 370. No. I hit something wrong. That's not that hard. Let's try it again. 50 plus 75 plus 30 plus 15 plus, I must need a 0, plus 30 plus 25 plus 6 equals 231. There we go. Okay, if there was another stick of RAM, what would happen? Because I said I didn't know if there was 1 or 2. The difference is 15 for an extra stick of RAM. What would happen? Would it change what power supply I have? So I've got 231. So when I go here, I got 231 is calculated. If there was another stick of RAM, it would be 246. Does that change this? No. No matter what, I end up at 250. And that's why I was saying it doesn't really make a difference. And my recommended would be 300. Okay? So, we're going to go and look at a 300 watt power supply using the Newegg site while we're talking about the very first one. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go to Newegg. And you guys watch this in the video. The guy using this, I guess that's the one you're talking about that sound looked weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
He dropped his mic at like 4 minutes 16
So if I click on power supplies, I can then go to power search and I can ask for more. So we're gonna go and say we don't want to spend more than $50. I'm gonna be cheap. Okay. And we're gonna go and say power supplies between 300. I'm gonna say, oh, it's too bad we can't say a range. And I'm going to say 550. I'm going to go all the way up to 550 on here. I don't even know if there's ones in those middle ranges. And I'm also going to say that I want one that's somewhat efficient. So I'm going to pick, it has to be 80 plus or Energy Star for me to look at it. And then I'm going to hit search. And we're going to look at the cheapest one we can, which I think I already have it. Yep, lowest price first. Okay, so look at this. I can get a 350 watt. I'm looking right here, by the way. For $29, or for $5 more, I can get a 500 watt.
Yeah.
I'm gonna spend $5 more. Okay, so I'm gonna
Or
go to
these
this
can
one.
actually be good though for that price.
What?
Are these actually
It's
gonna work
rated 4 minutes.
just as good for that price, or why?
Well, we're gonna look at them. We're gonna look at them, but I'm gonna say yes. Okay. Just from first glance, I've got two different kind of fan units here. This one's got an 80mm fan. That's that one on the back, and this has got a 120mm fan. Sometimes you can have big fans here and just output there, which is what this one has. And sometimes you can have it blowing out. And I will tell you both of them will just fine. Okay. So I'm gonna look at this Cool Max one. And we're going to look at the specifications on that. So this is basically sucking the air in from the PC. This would be upside down on this one, or like that if it was on mine, because mine has some power on the ground. So it's sucking the air in and blowing it out through here. Big huge fan there. Let's see. Pictures are- There we go. And there it's just blowing it out through the back. And this is what I was saying, sometimes you just have to put your hand over the back to see if air's coming out. Okay, so let's look down at the specifications on this one and see if this will fit the PC that we just looked at. Okay, so first of all, it's an ATX power supply. That's a gotcha. If I say, hey, will this fit in this PC? It should be ATX to fit in the PCs that we're looking at, because we said we use ATX. It's a 500-watt power supply. That's the maximum power it can put out. It's got one fan. Connector is 20 plus 4 pin, and like we said, most PCs are 24 pin anymore, but why not get a 20 plus 4 that slides off so you're more flexible? It's got one single 12-volt rail, and the guy in the video talked about the fact that you would want a single rail if you wanted to overclock your CPU, and I put on the text down there, if you guys were paying attention, is why that's a myth, that you don't really need a single rail anymore, because power supplies have gotten better since 2008. It has a PCI Express connector for a good video card. It's got a 6 pin, and it's got a 6 plus 2 pin. Same thing, it means it's an 8 pin that slides off. Okay, so you've got either 2 6 pins or a 6 pin and an 8 pin, depending on how you want to look at it. It's got 5 SATA power connectors. So these black ones are those SATA power connectors that connect all current CD-ROMs and hard drives. If you've got something really old, they make adapters, but why would you go buy this nice new power supply for a really old PC? It might be, I guess. It's both SLI and Crossfire ready. Okay, those are the AMD and the NVIDIA solutions for dual video cards that you can work on either one of them. However, I will say that you only have 2 power connectors. How are you going to get 2 video cards in there unless both of them are just 6-pin video cards? Then I guess you'd be pushing it. Okay, it's not modular, so let's take another break here, since I'm digressing as we go through here. So, modular power supplies are those ones that none of these cables are hooked on the back, right? There's just a plug on the back, and then you get a bag just like this with cables in it, and you say, hey, I want this cable to be plugged in, and you plug it into the end of your thing, okay? And I've got a nice video card, so I can plug these into my nice video cards. We obviously have one of those in one of the servers. Are modulars more efficient? Yes or no? Put your hand up if you say yes, they're more efficient. No one thinks modulars more efficient? Nobody?
I don't know.
Nobody?
Well,
I don't know, so I'm not going to stick my
I'm
hand
gonna
up
go
because I'm
yeah.
not sure. You're wrong! They're not more
Gosh,
efficient.
dang it!
They're
I knew
not
it was
more
someone.
efficient, okay? It specifically says in the reading that the additional connectors cause more resistance, and so here's an if, and I'm going to put a question mark over here on are they more efficient. If I have all these plugs on this one, and I have a modular one that I'm only using one, it's more efficient. Because I may lose some power due to the resistance, but I'm only using one cable. But if I've got this one that has all these plugs, and I plug every single plug into my modular one, it's definitely not more efficient. Okay, what is the advantage of modular? What are they? They're what? There's something.
concern. Better airflow.
Better airflow. So they are cooler. And I don't mean, hey, like Fonzie cooler. I mean, they're cooler. There's less cables in the way. There's less blocking it up, so they're cooler. You don't have extra cables that are just bleh, like this, all wadded up and moved over to the side because I've zip tied them all together to get them out of the way. Okay? So they are cooler, and they also allow you to plug in what you need. So in this case, I needed SATA, so I didn't plug this one in. If I needed the Molex connectors, I could unplug that one and plug this one in. So they're cooler, and I'm going to say they're versatile. Okay, because you can kind of plug in what you want. The bad thing that they already talked about on modular power supplies is the fact that the cables aren't standardized. So I can't go and say, hey, I need another cable for that, and just buy one and think it's going to plug into your modular power supply. The other end plugs are different on bunches of different modular power supplies. So that kind of stinks. If all the cables were the same and you could just buy cables and plug in what you needed, that would be great. Okay, we do have some modular ones. Obviously, that one came with it. It came with a really cool bag. Keep all your extra cables and stuff. So back to what we were talking about. This one was not modular. Okay, since I digressed there. Efficiency up to 80%. It's 80 plus certified. Do you guys understand what that means? Okay, so I got a new furnace.
Good.
In my house because I had to when we did the addition. My old furnace was 80% efficient. My new one is 95% efficient. What that means is that if my old one, 80% of the gas that I burned went to heat my house. The other 20% went, so 20% of my gas bill was to do nothing because my furnace was only 80% efficient. My new one's 95% efficient, so 95% of the gas that I pay for actually is used to heat my house. The same thing goes true with the power supply. It means that 80% of the electricity that comes in goes out into your computer because we lose electricity, we lose power due to heat, due to resistance of inside it as well. So the more efficient it is, it means the more power that I'm paying for is actually being used. Whereas if I get one that's not 80% efficient, you have no idea how efficient that power supply may be and how much power going in is actually coming. Okay? You guys don't pay your electric bill, but it may be important to your parents that you buy an efficient one so that when I'm paying for electricity, it's actually being used and not dissipated as heat or lost due to other factors in my components. So that's what that efficiency factor is for. They don't have any that are rated more than 80 plus. That means it's greater than 80% efficient. Okay? So this one also has over voltage protection, which should protect it if you get over voltage. Here we have our list of connectors, which is really nice. We've got a good list of connectors here. So we've got a 20 plus 4 pin connector, and the other motherboard connector is 4 plus 4 pin, which I told you guys that when we talked about them. This is a 4 pin motherboard connector. Some take 8, and so 4 plus 4 means you can slide it off and slide it on. It means it's versatile. You'll be able to use it for any motherboard that you buy this one for. Okay? It's got 5 SATA connectors plus 5 peripherals. These are called Molex connectors. It used to be what everything connected on. Now, everything connects on SATA, so these are now called peripheral connectors. I connect fans up to them. I can connect, in the case of my computer over there, my USB 3.0 converter. It needs extra power. You can use adapters to hook up video cards to them. For instance, this one has 2 video card connectors, right? But what if I wanted to use that crossfire capability and I wanted to put in 2 more? I could, because they make cables like this that I plug 2 Molexes into. So I can plug this one. Theoretically, I could plug this one. There we go. And I could plug this one. I hate when it's tied up into, and now I've got another PCI video card connector to connect it. But it takes 2. So I've already got 2 for a video card. If I use 2 of these peripheral ones with a cable that I buy online, I can put in another video card. Okay. So pretty handy. I got one floppy disk drive connector, which I will never use. It's got a quiet, large ball bearing fan, active power connector, over voltage protection, and here's the last thing on this one that we could look at, which is important. How long is the warranty? Some of them will be as small as 3 months.
That's probably about
Okay? Why? Because it's the first thing that goes and they don't trust theirs. 2 years is not bad. I've never seen one over 3. 3's as long as you're going to get. At least that's as long as I've seen. Okay? Maybe if I spent more money, I'd see a longer warranty. I don't know. There's one other thing that we didn't see on this one that we're going to go and see on another one when I take off the power supply rating. So I'm going to go back here, and we are going to take off the fact that we want it to be efficient. And then we'll get some more that show up here. All my clickies are gone. Dang.
Go to the most expensive
You could just take 350 and 550.
Well, because how do I know the one I want is one of those two?
They have 475 watt.
Okay, so I'm going to search again. Now, I didn't say a power efficiency rating, right? So now I've got one that's only $14. And I will tell you that when I'm buying power supplies for student computers, I spend $14. Okay? So I may not put this one in mine at home, but this was a 480 watt. Okay? It doesn't have that power supply rating. But the last thing I wanted to show you that wasn't on the other one, that's on the specifications, is a look at specifications. Okay, so it's 20 plus pins, single rail. There's my connectors. This one's not going to push as much. It's got a main connector. It's got my motherboard connector, but it's only got the 4-pin, so it's not going to work on some motherboards. It's got 4 peripheral, 2 SATAs, 1 floppy, no video card ones at all. So I can use those maybe to push a video card. As you can see, that takes 2 to do 1 connector, and some video cards have 2 connectors. But one thing this does have, first of all, it has a 1-year warranty, but where's my MTBF? There we go. MTBF, term you guys need to know. Okay? It has an MTBF of 100,000 hours. What does MTBF mean? MTBF.
Most time before failure.
Mean, you were really close, time before failure. Okay? It means that it, on the average, mean, okay, it's not the most, on the average, it's the mean, okay, you're going to get 100,000 hours out of this. Let's see, what is 100,000 hours, Mr. Poole? How long does that mean it'll last? So let's do some calculations. If we put 100,000 in, and I divide that by 24 hours a day, divided by 365 days in a year, it's going to last 11.4 years on the average. Okay, so while this only has a 1-year warranty, at the same time they're saying it's going to last on the average 11 years. That's okay. Okay, that's why I like it when they give me an MTBF, and it's $14. Okay, they've actually tested and given you an MTBF. The other one didn't have it. Okay, but they also gave you a 2-year warranty. So it doesn't have the efficiency rating. Okay, does not have the efficiency rating. It says energy efficient. No, we are not energy efficient. Okay.
That's also.
That doesn't. It should. If you're looking to be green, this should not make you feel good. You're definitely not any energy efficient. Sorry, go somewhere else. Okay. But we are saying will last 11 years. So that's okay. You have to weigh those things. This is one of the other myths that I wanted to talk about. When I look at this power supply has 2 fans on it. Power supply has 2. Do I have a pen? I have a pen. Okay. There's 2 fans on it, so it sucks air in here and it blows air out there. Okay. Does that mean the air is going through faster? No, it doesn't, because the fans turn the speed of the fan, and that's how fast the air goes. Okay. It's just what it is. So if 2 fans doesn't make the air go faster, why would I put 2 fans in
It's
it?
more air out.
Does it go through faster? Does it get more air out? The
On
holes.
An
The
average.
hole's only so big, you got the fan going, it really doesn't change. So what does it do for me?
Yeah.
If I lose a fan, do I still have cooling going on? I don't. If one fan stops, the other fan is still going, would air still be going through?
No, because what are you pushing out?
Anyone else want to answer that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I have a tube and I have a fan here and I have a fan here. Sorry, my drawing is bad. If this fan stops and this fan's still going, is there still air going through the
Yeah,
tube?
but not
Yes,
this
there's
tube.
still air going through the tube. The answer is yes, they're still going through the tube. However,
And it just stop.
this fan's going and this fan stopped versus another tube. These fans are going at the same speed. There's nothing on the other end of this tube. Which one has better airflow now? Bottom. Because if
no
this one's not
resistance.
turning, now this is providing resistance to the air. So a lot of times people will say, well, if I have 2 fans and one goes out, my power supply is still good. No, it's not. Now I have a power supply with an obstruction in front of the fan. Okay? It's not as good as it was before. I'm not saying it's bad. It may make your power supply last a few months longer. Okay? But the myth that I'm trying to point out is the myth used to be if you buy one with 2 fans, it's better than buying one with 1. And that's not true. This is using more power to do the same amount of air as if you just had the one back here. Right? Because this hole is still this hole, the air is going through, the rate of the fan puts it through. 2 fans is just using more electricity to do it. So that is neither more efficient or longer lasting. I just have 2 fans. Okay, so that's a power supply myth. 2 fans is not better than 1. I'm not saying that I wouldn't appreciate if I had it in a server, and this fan went out, and this one was still going. I know that it's going to be hotter. I'm not going to get the same airflow through it, but at least I have some airflow. So I'm not saying that I would throw it out. I'm saying that it doesn't make it better than 1. Okay? Okay, so let's see, we went over those things. So we're going to go back to our calculations now. Any questions on power supplies themselves? Guys, I want to go look at a power supply because you guys are going to be doing just this. I'm going to say, here's a PC, here's a power supply, should I buy it? Why or why not? And you're going to say, well, I calculated 293, so my recommended is 350, and this is a 450. I would definitely buy this one. And you said all those things, and I go, check, 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 you win, 4 points. And if you said, yes, I'd say half credit, you didn't say anything.
It's like a half credit, just
You
make
don't
it
go and get to go into math and say, the answer is 5. Then Mr. Alexander goes, you're correct, full credit. No, you have to show your
That's not
work.
homework.
So,
But
on the test, when I am asking you a question, you must show your thought process. Okay? So a yes or no answer on an essay question will not get you full credit, even if the yes or no is correct. Okay? You must justify your yes or no. I calculated this, got minimum of this, recommended of this, and this is this, so no or yes.
you can send the power supplies you
So,
can. You say,
yes.
oh, what I get?
I'll gift this one to somebody. Wouldn't they love to get a power supply in the mail? I sent you for Christmas a high-efficient power supply for your PCs to swap out. I thought you'd like to save money. Okay,
That's all your kids.
so that's all you get.
That's what you kids get for Christmas.
That's what I'm gonna do when I'm a grandpa. I just thought you'd appreciate it more. This is an 80+ gold rated power supply. Merry Christmas. My grandkids will be like, Grandpa stinks.
And you're just gonna send just a power supply.
Just a power supply. I'll send them a YouTube video link as well.
How to put it in.
How to replace your power
You
supply.
can't even have computers.
Okay, so let's go to number 2.
Kids just watch it like that.
Is dual core or single core?
What'd
you put on your
single core?
It is.
How do I know? Let's say I'm just
It
looking at
says
this and I don't know.
specification.
Does it never says anywhere? So it doesn't say dual core. But
Oh,
if
this
I
one
was,
says quad core. I think. No, that's
No,
the third.
if I don't know, look what I can do. I can go and I can copy, and I can go to a new page and I can put it in Mr. Google and I can hit enter and it says single core. simple about single core. Do I even need to read the article? No! You don't.
So how did you
But
know
if you're
that?
not sure, Google it.
How did you know to specifically Google that part?
Because that's the part. That's the CPU
How did you
right
know?
there. What do you mean?
'Cause
it
it
says
teaches
right there.
that.
That's the CPU. Yeah, right there.
Pretty sure all of us in here did not know
Or
that.
I could go to specifications, and I could go to the
Yes.
line on the processor. Where are we at? Down. Processor. Or I could just put in that. Here's the processor. I can copy that.
Now.
Put that in there too. And I come up to the same thing. Oh, it's a single core, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine. So I'm just saying, if you don't know, Google it. Okay? So I know it's a single core. And I know I have a motherboard. So let's go on to RAM. RAM. It doesn't tell me squat hole it. It says I've got 3 gig.
That could be.
Do they sell 3 gig sticks?
No.
No, they sell 1, 2, 4, and 8. So what's the minimum number of sticks I have? The minimum is 2.
But my guess is when you put a 2, you know, like
Sure, you can put it in 2.
Good job, baby.
You have to put in an unequal number. I guess you could put in 2 512s and 2 gigs, but that would be more expensive than putting in 1 and 2. Just so you know. Put in buy 4 sticks instead of 2. So we're gonna assume 2. It could be wrong. It could be 4 sticks, but they've told us nothing. Very, very limited amount of information here. I don't know any other way to find anything else out. So we're gonna go back and say that we got 2 sticks. So let's go with what we know so far. We got a motherboard. We got a single core CPU. We got 2 sticks of RAM. Let's go see what we can find out about our video card, and that's gonna be down here in the specifications. Optical drive, we got an optical drive, we have 1 hard drive while we're here, integrated audio, integrated graphics, integrated LAN.
this is all basic.
We've got a USB mouse and a USB keyboard. So, we can go ahead and say, we've got basic, and we've got one of those, and 2 of those. And we don't have any way to see any pictures on this one because they've taken down the pictures from the website. There used to be some nice little pictures up here, but there aren't anymore. So that's all we have to go on. So we've got 50, if I can get a pen, it's 50, 50, and 30, and 30, and 30, and 25, and 6. And we'll use our handy dandy calculator. And 130 plus 60 plus 25 plus 6 equals 221. Is that what you guys got?
I think you missed a 13.
Did I?
Yeah.
Let me try it again.
If you said everything out loud.
100 plus 30, 30, 30, that's 90. Plus 25 plus 6 equals 221. Did I miss one? No. Okay, so when I go on to the next sheet, I say I've got calculated. I can ask you any of these questions. 221 minimum, 250 recommended, 300. What did it have in it? Did it have?
Well, I put a third stick of memory.
Okay, and if we put another stick of RAM in it, even if we put two more
And
sticks
the whole
of
time I
RAM.
was putting all the USB.
Yeah, I was putting like the
like I put times 6. So there's
Yeah.
Okay, so only use what we use, not what we could use.
Exactly.
Realizing that's why we're
Yeah.
adding this on here. So we're recommending 300. What did it have? Because that's a question I could ask you. Did it have the recommended? If I look down here at the bottom, it came with a 300 watt power supply. It's the G18.
Wait. So, but that's it's
Yeah, that's what it has in it.
as it's what minimum requirement.
No, that's what it's got in the case. It's got a 300 watt power supply. That's what this is saying. It's got in the case.
So it could be a lot.
Yeah, but if I ask you, is the power supply in this PC meet the minimum requirements or meet the recommended requirements, you would be able to say yes, it is the recommended requirements. Questions on that one? Okay. Next one we're going to do with the calculator, just so you can see the calculator, okay? So, I will tell you that you will have to use the calculator later on in this class, but you will not have to use it on this test. And I used to have it on the test, and I will tell you that everyone got the questions wrong.
You used to have what on the test?
I used to have the power supply calculator as part of the test. You used to have to go to this extreme power supply calculator. And the reason everyone got it wrong in my feedback that I've gotten from students is they didn't understand what that thing was. Okay? And there's a lot of stuff that you don't understand yet. That's why you have to use it later. This is the best way to do it. My way, the chart, is a way to do it. It's very conservative. And at least make sure you got one that will work in your PC. And if you bought one using my chart, you would be safe. You would not be under wattage. Okay? But this one you're going to see is going to come out with far less probably than what you had. So let's go to the next PC. We're going to go to this server PC.
I was
And
really confused by this.
we're going to go and use this one. So that, I'll show you how we work through here first. So we're going to start on the left-hand side and work our way down. How many physical CPUs does it have? As one. It's a quad-core PC, but it says right there, a single, dual, or quad-core is still one physical. Okay. So one physical CPU. Next to the motherboard is the desktop. No, it's actually a high-end server. Okay. So I'm going to say a high-end server because the more it has, the more power it's going to pull. Okay. CPU brand. There's two CPU brands out there, Intel and AMD, and this is Intel. And I'll go back to the site just so you understand where I'm getting that from. It says it's Intel Tower Server, Intel Xeon, X32 running quad core, blah blah blah. Okay, and I have to go to the specifications, and I'm going to have to pull down here in just a second. So I'm going to pull some other things off there. Okay, what kind of socket does it have? Sockets are the form factor for CPUs. A given motherboard has a specific socket, and only CPUs that fit in that socket will go in that socket. So when I go down here and look, it says the processor is a socket 775. That's a kind of socket. So the first thing it asks you here is what kind of socket. So I'm going to say it's a socket 775. There's 775 right there. LGA 775. And when I change this, it then changes what kind of CPUs are available to go in that socket. So then you see why I'm not putting this on your test? Okay.
It's just a lot of time.
So it is a slow one. So this is a, go back up top, Xeon X3220. Xeon X3220. So I have to find the Xeon X3220 right there. Okay? And then we're going to leave it at the recommended utilization of the CPU. We're not going to overclock. How much RAM is on this computer? So let's see. We do know. We know exactly how much on this one.
Stick fly.
We know exactly how many sticks on this one. Because it says right here, there are 4 memory slots and 2 are available. How many did they use?
I thought we were on the one.
Okay.
Yes, this
4
one
minus 2
does
is
say.
2. Okay. So I've got 2 sticks of DDR2 RAM. So RAM, I can just go down here to DDR2. 2 modules of DDR2. And then it says what kind of video card. And it is a basic card using 32 meg or less. Okay. So we just put basic card in there, and if you want to go down and show you, it says it's integrated somewhere. There we go. Graphics, onboard graphics right there. So we're just using the basic settings for that. No other video card. Physical, no. Personal video cards. Solid state drives, no solid state drives. How many hard drives does it have?
PC3.
How many hard drives did you guys put down when you did this one? Example number 3.
There.
None! None! It has 3! It has 3 500 gigabyte SATA 2 RAID 5 drives right there! And if I go down here, it says it's got total storage of 1.5 terabyte with drives of 500 gigabyte. 500 times 3 is 1.5 terabytes. There's 3 hard drives.
Jeez.
That's why you have to read the description up top and the thing at the bottom.
Well, that's still. I mean, I read it, but
It's
I
got
didn't
3
click.
hard drives. You guys would have walked that one. So hard drives, no solid state, and are they 5400, 7200, blah blah blah. I'm gonna say they're 7200. So 3 hard drives there. It has a DVD burner on it. I can go back and show you where it says that optical drive, DVD, Blu-ray, DVD plus RW. So it's a DVD burner. Nothing else on this side. No floppy drives, no Blu-ray. So we're gonna go up to the other side. Over here. Are there any other? Yeah. There's no pictures on this one. Unfortunately,
This one doesn't.
What? The next
This
one.
one has a flop.
This one has a floppy. Does it say it has a floppy?
At the top.
Read flop.
Floppy. Yes, you're right. So it has a floppy drive there. And we're gonna continue down here. See if we got anything else on board. I am really hungry all of a sudden.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so I should have gone over here because there is a floppy, right? So was that over here? Floppy drive, one drive. Missed that.
What's the point of making them still?
Okay, because sometimes you have drivers trying. You need to put it on the floppy. Okay, so we've got no additional cards. No Bitcoin mining modules. No external USB or FireWire drives. No extra fans that we know about. There actually is, if you can see the pictures, there's a 120 fan on it. Maybe you wouldn't know that because. So we would leave that at 0. There's no liquid cooler, no water pump, no pump relay. System looks normal. So then I go down here. Oh, and if it's old, we can say the capacitor is old because they use more power.
It's old.
Yeah.
When you put it, it's old.
Aging. We're not going to. So I just hit calculate, and then
316.
it said no. 266 is its calculated. And you guys came up with what?
245.
And you forgot 3 hard drives, which is 75 more. So if you had used the right numbers, you would have gotten a lot more. And the point is that this usually ends up with way less. Now it just says it says minimum is 266, so it just adds 50. You're not going to find a 316. It's going to round up, so it's going to be 350. So it's going to end up with basically the same number. But it doesn't round up and then add. It just adds. So its recommended is really our minimum. Okay, because it's going calculated, then recommended, and then you can round up for. Just so you know, the terminology is a little different. So it's adding 50, is saying you should get that. And look, it gives you a handy dandy link to go buy it right there for $39.
No, wait. Hold on. Is these 3 hard drives, like, we're only going to use all 3 hard drives? Or are we calculating?
No. They're plugged in videos. If they're in your computer, you're using them. Yes. Would have tubed that one on a test. That's lucky we didn't have that. Okay. Questions on the calculator. You guys will use this, just not on the test this week.
Yeah.
So it's an introduction to it, just because I know you guys don't know what all these other things are yet. Okay? So let's go and do another one. Let's jump to the gaming one. We'll do number 5. Okay? So here's our gaming unit. iPower Gaming PC X4. You know what that means?
Times 4 video cards. I was like, that's a really nice
That's a
game.
pretty modern PC.
It's
Does
a
it
quad
look
core.
modern?
It's a quad core. It's a quad core.
Dang.
So, and it may say that down here.
Like, I would just get everything for specifications.
Processor, it just says Athlon X4. And that's where I'm saying, if you don't know what that means, I might want to put that in to Google. And put that in so that you can know that this is a quad core PC. Right there, the Athlon X4 quad core. Okay? So it doesn't say quad core, which is why, if you don't know, you need to Google things. So we're looking at quad core gaming PC with 1 terabyte hard drive, DVD burner. We got some cool pictures. Let's look at the pictures. It's kind of a nifty case.
Yeah.
It's like someone punched in there. Well, it does.
Do I not have a back? I don't have a back picture?
Lol.
Ah. No back picture. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and look at it. It says it's for gaming. let's see. Has 4 gigabytes of RAM. How many sticks? 2 sticks of RAM. It's got two 2 gig sticks. It's even more specific. It's not using PS2 or USB. It's using PS2 mouse and keyboard. I think. Let's go down. That's just the connectors. We'll see. AMD 1 hard drive, 1 DVD, integrated audio. Okay, so here's the graphics card, which at the time was a good graphics card. Nah, it's probably, I would say, a semi-low end card now. But at the time, it was a reasonably okay gaming graphics card. Now it's pretty low end now. Let's see. Mouse, I'm sorry, mouse is USB, keyboard is USB. Okay, let's go back here and fill in some numbers. So, we've got a motherboard, a quad core, a high-end video card, even though we've got 2 sticks of memory, we've got 1 hard drive, I'm sorry, 1 optical drive, 1 hard drive, no floppy drive, and 2 USB. So we've got 50, 100, 120, and 30, and 30, and 25, and 6. We'll go ahead and pull up our calculator here. So 150 plus 20 plus 30, 30, 60 plus 25.
You only got plus 30. You didn't get plus 60.
30 again.
What?
You only put 30.
Oh, did I? So I owe another 30. So 361. Is that what everybody else came up with?
I got 347, but I missed one of the things.
Okay.
I missed the quad.
Okay, so when we look at this then, we can say 361 calculated, minimum 400, recommended 450. Okay, and again, I'm gonna give you a power supply, and I might just ask you this. By the way, some of them are gonna be fill in the blank. Here's a PC. What is the minimum? Do not put, and it's going to say do not put watts in there. I just want you to type 400 because it's one that automatically grades you based on did you put in 400.
And the ones like where we actually go to the site, so you just have links already made. Or
Yes.
something?
No, you just click on it in the test. You just be and it'll open up a new page and all that kind of stuff. Okay. Okay, we got time. Let's do the last one. This one has a little bit of gotchas, not enough that it would make you fail or anything, but so this is how many cores? This is number 4. This is dual core. It's got 4 gig of DDR2. It's got how many hard drives? 2. What I have highlighted is 2 500 gig hard drives. Okay. So as I go to the specifications, we see that we've got 4 memory slots, 0 available. So how many sticks do we have? 4 sticks of RAM. Okay, and this one.
So I just got that right.
Okay. So as I'm going down here, it says hard drive 500 gig. It doesn't say anything else, but up here it says it's got 2 500 gig hard drives. Okay. So that's one of the gotchas on this one that you have to read. It's got an optical drive, a DVD burner. If it's got integrated graphics on it, so basic video card, integrated network, integrated LAN, no other USB. Does it have any extra cooling fans?
Well, look at the picture. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, it does. Okay. And as I look at the back here, I also know it's got no extra cards on here. There's no expansion cards at all in here. So I know it's integrated everything. So as I go through this one, and calculate this one, I've got a motherboard, I've got dual core, I've got a basic video card, I've got 4 sticks of RAM, I've got an optical drive, I've got 2 hard drives, I've got no expansion cards, no USB, but I do have 1 cooling fan. So
Oh, there's no USB.
no, it's a server, right? And it's got nothing else listed. And traditionally, we don't plug anything into servers. So 75, 30, and 60, and 30, and 50, and 3. So I'm going to add those together. I've got 50 plus 75 plus 30 plus 60 plus 30 plus 50 plus 3. 298. So I come up with a calculator of 298. So my minimum would be 300. My recommended would be 350. And if I ask you, does this PC's power supply meet the recommended that you calculated, your answer would be?
I don't know, go check.
Go back and check, and we'll go down to the bottom, and it's got a 300 watt power supply.
No.
Is we know. It barely meets the minimum.
Duh, Peyton.
We just came up with 298. We
Jeez.
plug in one
Yes.
keyboard, and we don't even make the
Yes,
minimum.
350.
If I plug in the mouse, we don't
I
make
got
the minimum.
350. You got it wrong, bro.
Okay, so this is one of those ones that's so close between here and here. That's why we have got to add 50. Okay, so close. So how'd you guys feel like you did? Do you understand how to come up with this? Because like I said, this is one of the biggest things that you need to, really, I want you to, as we go through these, I really want you to leave this course saying, my power supply's out at home, I can buy one, and I don't have to call Mr. Poole, because he taught me how to figure out the wattage. Okay? I may or may not answer. Okay? So, I mean, I really want you to understand as we leave each one of these chapters, how to do those things. Removing the power supply, you guys are going to be more used to it. We need to basically have you, after you're done with the tests and stuff, I mean, you need to come in and, we just need to go through and have you take one. And if you guys are like, I really have got a gray on how to do that, then come in during intervention. Why don't you pull a power supply, put a power supply back in, pull it, test it, put it back in. What? CD, DVD, Blu-ray. Yeah. Well, I grouped them all together because they all, I don't know why they have them all separate.
You can take them
Okay.
Yeah.
So, next class. What are we doing next class? Just so everybody understands. This, you have to have ready to present next class, Brighton. You're going to present first.
What?
Okay,
Yeah.
so we're going to go through next class this presentation and how these are set up. You guys are not doing it. Not doing it. Okay? I'm going to go through to explain how the presentation works for this class, because next section you will. And I'm going to explain my rubrics and how I grade off the rubrics, because the rubrics for every single section, every single presentation, I have a rubric that I grade directly off of. And we're going to go through the rubrics, and then I'm going to give a presentation, you guys are going to have the rubrics, and you guys are going to grade me next class. Okay? And then we'll have a little bit of time to do question and answer review stuff at the end of class before we do our test the following Monday. Okay? And let's see, since we have just a couple minutes, and I don't want to get ahead, let's see how I'm going to go ahead and stop this.